There's Rick. There's me.
Hey.
Hi. Oh, we're here. We had to do a little finagling around, but it is Sunday, November 9th, 2025, and this is episode 14 of the Unfiltered podcast. I am Tyler Anderson. You may know the internet, and y'all may know me now as Tyler Liger. But I feel like, Rick, we've had you, like, out of 14 episodes, we've had you out of 3 so far. So that's probably at least a good maybe 6th, the 5th or 6th of all the episodes we had so far.
Well, I am all knowing. I am all present.
He's everywhere, just like the Chicken Man of Omaha. But yeah, so let me tell you like a little bit of background on things. So, and it's a very interesting journey. So, we were originally supposed to get PWR World, our boy PWR, and you know, we were gonna set everything up with him, and I don't hear anything from him. I'm like, dude, are you okay? Like, are you having any technical issues or anything? And I don't hear anything until just about an hour ago. And he sends me a message. He's like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Like, I can't be on here. Like, I can't make it. During his Shawn Michaels retrospective stream, he got too hot, too excited, too hot, too fresh. Just absolutely blowing up. Just going crazy for Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. You know, the Mr. WrestleMania himself. And I see Rick over there shaking his head. And something happened. He had too much of a good time. He was like, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I was like, hey, it's okay. Do you want to reschedule? And he was like, of course. I owe it to you guys to reschedule. And so, like, we were like, okay, cool. Like, are you good? Like, what would be perfect for you? He's like, let's go next week. So we're going live next week, PWR World, 2 p.m. next Sunday. He will be a part of the lead up to Squared Circle Pros, Pieces for Quitters, live November 22nd, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Saturday, November 22nd at Jake's Back Room in Lubbock, Texas. He's part of that hype. He's going to do a special promo. I'm going to hold him to it. He's going to do a special promo hyping up the show, wanting you to be on. So that's what's going on with our boy, PWR. And so, like, I had another guest lined up for next week. His name is Dave Wright. He's with the Corn Fed podcast. Really great guy. Super patient. Just easy going. Just absolutely wonderful. Just likes to pull your leg every now and then. And he kind of pulled my leg a little bit. And I was like, hey, Dave, we gotta switch up dates real quick. And he's like, okay, I'm going to have to, like, cancel my grandma's funeral. I'm going to have to reschedule my brain tumor surgery. But I think I can make it. And Dave was, but Dave's like, no, I'm just kidding with you. Like, I'm good with any time. Just give me like a couple days heads up. And I was like, cool. All right, we can do that. So, Dave's new date, in case you are curious, he would be on for December 14th. I just have to let him know at least 48 hours ahead of time, so he can prepare accordingly. But PWR World next week, and then the following week will be SCP Hangover, the second edition of SCP Hangover, Pieces for Quitters. And then on November 30th, we get Cale Steed himself on the show. He just needs to get a mic.
Sounds like a solid lineup.
I know.
Solid set of shows.
It is. It's I'm excited. I'm like, wow. Like, Boom, 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 boom. I got guess. And then I got some more on the pipeline, so we should be good. And I see Ed in the chat doing a shaking my head. And Ed, it's okay. You will be on hand to witness the greatness, which is PWR. You are going to get hot for PWR. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Anywho, how's the last 48 hours been for you?
For me,
Yeah.
it's been a lot. Obviously, we're in the ramp up to Pieces for Quitters. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate getting ready for that show. And then, of course, BCW had their monthly show in Levelland last night. And they have another one in Plainview next week. That one's a suicide awareness and prevention show. Mm-hmm. So that's important. The one that they had last night in Levelland had pretty good turnout for that. A bunch of good matches. The Lubbock Pro Wrestling 101 had a nice showing at the show for the match that they put on. Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice evening. I was there backstage, but a lot of people didn't know that I was there. I wasn't on the show. I was really just kind of hanging out, which every once in a while I do like to do. Just be there, and it was fun. It was a nice day, but it wasn't all day because we left town at 8 o'clock and didn't get home until 1 a.m.
Oh my gosh,
so
what a day!
It was a whole day. It was a whole day, and that's wrestling shows. That's when you're involved in the wrestling show. It is literally an all day thing.
Yeah, they are.
It is. It's way more hours of that than there are of actual rest.
Right.
So, it is what it is, but we're having a good time this weekend. It's been nice having fun today. Glad to be on here with you.
Yeah.
It's at the risk of receiving a cease and desist. What do you want to talk about?
Okay. All right. Anywho, Ed's in the chat. He said he couldn't be any.
Hello, Ed.
Yeah. For his situation, couldn't be worse than having surgery. I won't tell anybody where. I'll let him explain it. But he's actually in zero pain, so he doesn't need the tramadol.
Good.
Yep. So he's doing okay. I don't know. Like I guess before. And then Rick says hello. I mean, Rick, you said hello to Ed. Ed says hello back. Okay. All right. Okay. Anywho, before we were jumping, before I jumped on stream, man, like of course, like I got to stumble on YouTube, got to go down those rabbit holes. But I ended up watching a movie. It's Godzilla. And Rick, I know you're not like you're aware of Godzilla, but you're talking to you're aware of. I mean, I'm sure you're aware that. You have yourself a Godzilla super fan on your hands.
Yes. Yes. I am aware of your fandom when it comes to Godzilla.
So I was watching Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So there's several different versions of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. So there is the original one, the one in the 70s where Mechagodzilla was built by aliens. Tyler is in training to become the Prince of the Pivot. Yes, I'm very good at pivoting. I learned that in basketball. Thank you. That's what they teach you in basketball. But so the first Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, that was when Godzilla's the good guy, and then Mechagodzilla was the evil alien, like the evil robot built by aliens. Then there's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2. That one's the one in the 90s. Godzilla's like kind of the bad guy. And Mechagodzilla was built by humans from the remains of Mecha King Ghidorah. And there's a whole lot of lore to it. And then there is a movie and a sequel called Godzilla X Mechagodzilla. So in Japanese terms, like it's instead of versus, it's against. So the X means like it means against. So like Godzilla X Mechagodzilla. And then there's Godzilla Tokyo SOS. So like it's part of like a sequel thing. It's very interesting because they take the bones of the original 1954 Godzilla, and so there's a new Godzilla that pops up. They take the bones of the original 1954 Godzilla, and they make it into a robot to fight Godzilla, and that's the premise of the film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really neat. They tried to do a little human element to it, like the main character is a lady. She was part of like this anti kaiju unit, and her comrades get killed in Godzilla's attack. So she like somehow becomes it's like, you know, it's movie magic, where she becomes the pilot for the Mechagodzilla against Godzilla. So, and then like in the sequel, like you get Mothra involved, and you get like, you know, and basically the whole like second and third act of the second movie is basically just a big monster brawl, which everybody shows up for. Everybody loves the monster brawls.
When do we get Mechagodzilla versus Mecha Streisand?
Mecha Streisand. I mean, are we gonna be worried for the Mecha Streisand effect?
The Mecha Streisand had 2 appearances on South Park over the many years, and it's really, really funny because they don't like Barbara Streisand.
Oh yeah.
And so they just really did her dirty, and it was really funny. Really funny.
Mecha Streisand, man.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Right.
It's really, really good.
And that comes from like the Streisand effect. So the Streisand effect is like, if you try to squash something, it becomes even more popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, this would be a good segue since you mentioned South Park.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why don't we? You know, I'll pivot away from Godzilla, and we'll make it kind of make it South Parky today. Just because I just want to hear your take on like the South Park classics, because there's the World of Warcraft episode which repopularized the World of Warcraft. Man, I sound like a boomer saying that. And then there's a lot of other things, like they did like the anime parody, and of course everybody remembers the first one where you know, it's Christmas time and the episode ends with the Christmas tree falling on Kenny. So is that the first one? I think that's
the original South Park was not South Park. The original South Park was a Christmas card. Mm-hmm. It was a online animated Christmas card where the boys were featured along with Jesus and Santa Claus. And it was sent out online, and it was just passed around as a file, to the point that people were taking credit for it that had not done it. And because Matt and Trey didn't sign their names to it, they didn't put their names on it. Mm-hmm. And there were people out in Hollywood that were getting jobs claiming that they had something to do with that video. And it ended up getting to the point where they were showed the video by another person who was like, "Hey, look at this. This is amazing." And they were like, "That's ours." And so, you know, they used that to kind of, they pitched to several networks to try and set up South Park as a show. But the thing is that the networks didn't want a show about kids. They wanted an animated show about families.
Sure.
Because that's what had worked with The Simpsons, and that's what was working with Family Guy. They didn't want it based on the kids. And so, you know, that's how it really began. But South Park has been a pop culture staple since 1997.
Absolutely.
And they've touched on everything. They are equal opportunity offenders. They don't care who they piss off. There is not a single entity, association, person, entertainment genre, that nothing is off limits. Nothing. I mean, they said their relationship with Isaac Hayes was severed over their attacking Scientology. So, you know, I mean, but they've always been equal opportunity where that comes to. So there's been a lot of big stuff with South Park, and they're, you know, still just as culturally relevant today as they've ever been, because they're one of the only productions out there that can turn a show around in 6 days.
Yeah.
And they don't pre-plan anything. Yeah, there was a trailer that was circulating last year for the new South Park that's happening now, that everybody was like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. They must have been preparing for months and months and months. And then they said after the new season started airing, and it had nothing to do with the trailer, they said flat out at Comic-Con, no, we just created that trailer to mess with everybody. We don't pre-plan anything. Like, everything in that trailer was complete bullshit.
Right.
So, which is hilarious that they would troll their own community. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've touched on World of Warcraft. They've touched on anime. They've touched on tons of political things. They've had a Scooby-Doo episode that featured corn. They've had they got into trouble with showing images of Muhammad, which led to 3 different episodes specifically being banned forever, that you can't find them anymore unless you use sophisticated hardware to search through the internet and find them. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you can't. And it's sad because 2 of the ones that are banned are episode 200 and 201, which are 2 of the best episodes they ever did. And you can't find those anymore unless you have them on DVD. Can't find them.
Right. So, like, I remember, what was it? I remember that Muhammad episode because it was kind of a pot shot at Family Guy, and it was like one of those cutaways. It's like they're sitting, like the entire Griffin family are sitting on the couch, and Peter's like, hey, remember when like Muhammad got ice cream? And they had like a cutaway of Muhammad getting ice cream. Yeah. And people got mad over that.
Well, yeah, because they were trying to be like, well, we're not showing it. It's on Family Guy. Yeah. But they had originally shown him in an episode where they introduced the Super Best Friends, which was like a play on the Super Friends Justice League, an old cartoon from the 70s and 80s, where Jesus led a group of deities, and Muhammad was one of them. And they had gotten away with that episode without having to censor anything. No one paid attention to it because the big controversy hadn't really happened yet, where, they were coming out and saying, you cannot depict Muhammad or we're going to, do terrible crap to you. So that hadn't really hit yet. So that one episode went underneath the radar. It was when they did 200 and 201 that the station, Comedy Central, was like, you can't do this.
Oh.
So then he, whenever they would show Muhammad, he had to be like in a bus or in a mascot costume, or, they would make a little voice. But if they had him depicted, he had a big black censor bar that said censored down it. Oh. And that's how they would have him on the show.
Okay. Yeah, because like for some odd reason, it didn't. I know it gets in the weeds with that a little bit, but yeah, we can depict Jesus, we could depict Buddha, we could depict Krishna, but God forbid, can't depict Muhammad.
Well, it's that episode too, that 2-parter, when it originally aired, Comedy Central muted the entire final speech that Kyle gave, because the entire speech was about how the only true censorship is the threat of violence. Mm-hmm. And then really it was them saying Comedy Central are a bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
And then Comedy Central went and muted all of it. And that led to a whole other thing between them and the South Park creators that almost led to South Park leaving Comedy Central.
Yeah. Man, what an alternate universe that would have been, where they would have went to the open market.
But see, now that Paramount is their parent company and is in charge of everything, their new deal with South Park, with South Park's new deal with Paramount, which is why they're able to get away with so much of the political stuff they're doing now.
Right.
Their new deal was they got all this money, like $1.5 billion that they got. And their contract specifically states that Paramount and the parent company CBS cannot alter anything on their show They can't postpone it. They can't pull it off the air. Anything that happens has to be Matt and Trey approving it, and they don't even get to see those episodes until day of, and it's like a few hours before it airs.
Wow.
So they're completely 100% Teflon and bulletproof, because if Paramount does anything to break that contract, they can keep that money and they can take their entire IP and they can walk to another streaming service.
That is called fuck you money.
Hell yes, it is. And they've said that in the media. When the media went to them after they signed this contract, somebody mentioned, hey, aren't you worried about getting pulled or canceled or, whatever? And they were like, no, because we have fuck you money now. We can do whatever we want.
So bouncing off of that, they made South Park longer, what was it? Longer... something.
Bigger, longer, uncut.
Bigger, longer, uncut. Okay, all right. Great movie, by the way. It's
yes.
a good one. It's a good one. So I wonder how they balance out putting together the movie with doing episodes, like new episodes every week. That's so interesting to me.
Well, at the time that they put the movie out, from what I understand, they were also working on the season that was to follow the movie. And that was, from what I understand, that was when they basically made the decision, we don't like front-loading episodes. We don't like it. We like the immediate turnaround because we can be relative to the moment
right
that's going on in our world. I mean, you look at the new season that they're doing, season 28 now. They're on episode 2 of season 28. Season 27 had 5 episodes. This one is apparently going to have 5 as well. But they have, in the last 3 weeks, they've been able to hit the peer-to-peer gambling. They've been able to hit the government corruption with Bitcoin. They've been able to hit the tearing down of the East Wing. They've been able to hit, so much that they completely roasted Brendan Carr of the FCC. They have destroyed Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. They really raked Pam Bondi over the coals huge this past week. They're able to turn these episodes around and talk about what everybody's talking about. And so, it's great. That movie, was so successful, and everybody was talking about, when are they going to release a second one? They have done several trilogies through the years on the TV show that if you take those 3 episodes and you put them back to back, they are essentially a movie.
Okay.
And then once they got to season 18, 19, 20, and 21 and 22, and I believe 23 as well, were all serialized, which is something South Park never did before.
Right.
Where they reference the previous episode every single through the entire season. It's one long running story. And there's a lot of South Park fans out there that actually don't like that.
That's interesting.
The South Park community is very split on several things right now. They're split on the serialization. They're split on the continued focus of adults over the kids.
Right.
And they're super split on the political stuff right now.
Okay.
To the point that the last episode, they got very meta and they had the boys introduce a meme coin that South Park sucks now. And it was really, really funny because the people that are getting so mad at everything that's going on, Matt and Trey keep kicking them in the balls every episode, and it's hilarious.
It's like you're getting away from the kids. You're touching on more of
to
the
the point
adults.
that Kyle and Stan are talking, and Stan's actually, when was the last time we did something? When was the last time we all got together, just the 4 of us? And that's exactly what people are saying online. And then they start southparksucksnow.com, which is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And then they get like 700,000 followers overnight. So what's the next step that we take? Absolutely, we launch a meme coin.
and
to
do a
screw
rug
everybody
pull.
out of their money. Yeah, I mean,
do a
it's
rug pull.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so funny. South Park's amazing.
Yeah. And it's kind of reflective. Like, I think what's interesting is you look at a period in time and then you look at the South Park episode relative to that part of time where it's a good reflection.
Absolutely.
Yep. So it's kind of like a warp version of the Onion where, like, you know, you're kind of a parody, but you're also on the front page of history as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
South Park is ridiculously relevant. They're getting some of their highest rated episodes ever right now, as far as viewership. It is absolutely, it took over literally overnight. It's the flagship show of Paramount Plus, of the Paramount app. It's the thing I think is so funny is that people have tried for almost 30 years now. We're coming up on 30 years. And they've tried to take down South Park from day one. And every single time they fail miserably. And Matt and Trey come back bigger than they ever were before.
Yeah.
And they are really one of the most amazing success stories of television. And I don't think that they'll ever truly get their due because of the type of product they put out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to be kind of pushed back into a corner by, people that seemingly make the decisions. But South Park is amazing. And I honestly, it's one of those shows that if you're somebody who just flat out doesn't like South Park and you don't have a specific political agenda as to why you don't like it, if you just don't like it, I really question like your just pretty much anything about you, because like, how can you ignore something that not even if you don't think it's funny, how can you ignore its cultural relevance, its place in pop culture, and how it's influenced the industry?
Oh yeah.
Like if you completely just discount South Park, are you even a serious human being? Like, I don't like what?
We judge your character if you don't like South Park.
9 Ways to Sunday.
Okay, so I have to ask this. What would be your favorite episodes of South Park?
Oh, my
all-time favorites.
I tell you, I could sit and watch season 18, 19, and 20 all day long on a loop because the serialization and the story is so good. But selfishly, I have several favorites. There's an episode called Grounded Vindaloop where they're messing around with virtual reality headsets, which is really funny. There is also an episode where Cartman learns about Tourette's for the first time and decides that he's going to get away with murder by pretending he has Tourette's syndrome.
Oh my God.
There is also a great episode where when we get into the Integrity Farms era of South Park, there is a great episode where Randy and Tally try to use the leftover bits of their marijuana business to create a plant-based burger, which is ridiculously hilarious. And then there is also an episode where they have the Chinese owner of City Walk that pronounces it Shitty Walk.
Hello, Shitty Walk.
He's having a feud with the guy at the Mongolian beef place next door.
Oh my God.
And that's ridiculously funny. I mean, there's just it's so hard to narrow down a specific. The World of Warcraft episode's really good. The Black Friday trilogy is off the chain funny because they not only do they skewer Black Friday shoppers, they leaned into Game of Thrones. They eviscerated George R.R. Martin. I mean, just amazing stuff there. And there's also been several episodes where they've done stuff with celebrities that has really resonated. They murdered Jennifer Lopez, just murdered her by having Cartman do a Senor Wences impression and put a face on his hand with a wig and called it Jennifer Lopez, and caused her record label to drop her from her deal on the show because this Jennifer Lopez was more hot than J-Lo. And it just ridiculous. From the block. Ridiculous. So funny. So many celebrities through the years have just been skewered by South, which is one other reason why 200 and 201 were so good. And it's sad that they're banned now, because they took every celebrity that had been parodied up until those 2 episodes and brought them all back in a singular storyline trying to get back at South Park, which was amazingly funny.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
That was where there was 2 episodes with Tom Cruise that stand out. The 200 201, which is it's 2 episodes, but it's one story.
Sure.
And then there's Trapped in the Closet, which is what started the Tom Cruise hate. Because, the big stuff with Tom Cruise has always been that he's secretly gay and that he won't come out. And he's sued people for that. He has sued people for that.
I'm not gay.
But then he gets upset about Stan is labeled to be the second coming of L. Ron Hubbard, who is the founder of Scientology.
Right.
And so he goes to Stan to ask the reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard if he likes his acting, and Stan's like, "Well, you're not Leonardo DiCaprio, but you're okay. I mean, you're not that guy from Napoleon Dynamite, but you're pretty good, And Tom runs into the closet to hide and get upset, and so then it becomes, "Dad, Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet," and so then they spend the rest of the episode trying to get Tom to come out of the closet. And he's all like, "But I'm not in here." And they're like, "Then how am I talking to you, Tom?" Then they get John Travolta who's another one that has had the gay rumors. Mm-hmm. He tries to get Tom to come out of the closet. And so he's doing the Vinnie Barbarino impression with John, because he's like, "Tom Cruise, oh my God, come out of the closet." And so then Tom's like, "No, it's really nice in here." And so then John Travolta goes in, and now Tom Cruise and John Travolta are both in the closet.
Oh.
And so they have that whole thing, but then they bring Tom Cruise back for the 200, 201, and he's working in a fudge packing factory. So the kids take a tour, and they're all like, "Tom Cruise is the fudge packer." And he's like, "I'm not a fudge packer." And they're like, "You're literally working in a factory packing fudge." He's like, "No, I'm not." It's really funny.
What are you talking about?
Again, I don't know how you can't laugh at South Park. It's so entertaining.
Yeah, and it hasn't gone through that zombie stage, where the Simpsons got really good for a while, and then that's a really good segue, is just like how the Simpsons start off as being really raunchy, and everybody loved Bart Simpson, and then it got to the zenith, and now it's like. And then it's been on that slow decline ever since, almost like Western civilization. Just slowly declining. Now it's like a zombie Simpsons.
I'll be very honest with you. I was a huge Simpson fan, avid Simpsons watcher, probably until the South Park movie. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I became solely South Park.
Yeah.
I don't watch any other animated show on a regular basis until streaming. When they would put certain things on streaming, I'll watch a season of this or that, depending on what it is. Mm-hmm. But South Park became my show. I was never a Family Guy fan, never really watched Family Guy, because I always felt like the whole "remember a time when" was like Seth MacFarlane's only joke.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't funny to me. I just didn't think it was funny. Simpsons I thought was funny at times.
Yeah.
But once South Park came out there and became the show that lived to offend you, that is so much more my sense of humor. My humor is very dark. I like roast humor. I like black humor. I like the things that aren't supposed to be funny, but they absolutely are. And I'm not just, I don't know, I don't just like potty humor. And I think sometimes South Park gets a reputation for being potty humor, but it's so much deeper than that. They use the potty humor to sell it, but once you start watching it, it is not just potty humor.
Right. There's layers to that humor.
And I feel like Simpsons has lost their layers. By the time I stopped watching it, Simpsons didn't do it for me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and there were some good ones where, like, you know, I think, what was it? Like, Bart had a blimp and it, you know, for Principal Skinner, it said, "I'm a big butt Skinner," which was good. And then
my favorite stuff with Simpsons was always the Homer-centric stuff.
Really?
That was always my favorite. Anything with Homer was good.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's even some touching ones where, like, you know, Homer, like, wanted to start up a bowling alley. It was going under, and then he had to ask Mr. Burns for his job back. And he had to because Maggie was born. And instead of, you know, like, you know, instead of the sign, it's like, you know, you're here forever. It's like, do it for her, which is very touching. It's very nice.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite, I mean, this is my only favorite part of Family Guy, was Lois mentioning, there was that, it's like, do you remember that time where Peter got in that turf war with that cat? And they're both cats, and they're, and it's like, hey, get that out! And it's like, both of them like scram, which is, it still gets me to pop to this day, but that's the only thing that gets me to pop out of Family Guy. But
I liked when Family Guy did the parodies of the Star Wars universe on their little DVDs.
Harvest. Yeah.
The Blue Harvest. Those I thought were funny.
Yeah.
Now, I really, really liked that. But that, to me, was not your average Family Guy episode. You know, that was using the Family Guy characters and some tropes, and then using, you know, just parodying the Star Wars stuff, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
Loved that. But, you know, so, I don't know. It's going to take a lot to pull me away from South Park. Like this, I don't know. I just don't know of anything animated that's as good or will ever be as good.
I will say that a great offshoot of South Park is Team America World Police.
Team America, I thought was cute when they released it.
Team America!
But I wasn't a fan of the marionette comedy.
Oh.
Because that stuff, that there were several shows in the 70s that utilized that.
Yeah.
That Matt and Trey were making fun of.
Yeah.
And I never really enjoyed those because they, as a young kid, puppets creep me out. I didn't like puppets. And so the marionette puppets, I don't need a whole show about things on strings. Can't do it. I don't like it.
Sure.
So it just wasn't something that it resonated with me. I went to go see it at the movies because it was Matt and Trey.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I like Basketball's ridious, but I liked it.
Great. I love Basketball.
Orgasmo's ridiculous, but it's funny too. I highly recommend, if anybody is a fan of South Park and has never seen Book of Mormon, like, again, are you a serious human? Go watch Book of Mormon. Like, that is one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life as far as Broadway. Like, I can't believe they did it, much less that they won Tonys for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's insanity.
Well, I mean, like, you look at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I mean, that's got an interesting origin story all to itself. It's not meant to, I mean, what I'm saying is not meant to offend any Mormons, but if you really look into the lore, it is kind of, it's hokey, but you know, to an outside observer, it's, you know, it gets into LOL territory where you can easily troll it. So I can see where Matt and Trey can make fun of it.
I mean, I think that, well, let's just be honest. All religion has a little bit of a
little
to it.
hokiness.
You know, I mean,
yeah.
It's you know, you can deny climate change, but you know that story with the Ark is 100% real. Like, really? Is it? You know, I mean, you don't believe science, but two of every animal, absolutely. No. Come on.
Go by twosies, 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 twosies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you. Whatever you need, buddy.
I still remember like in church, like this was way back when I was younger. It was a parody of a song, and it was like, Pharaoh, Pharaoh, oh, let my people go. And I did the little, like, I add a little pizzazz to it. It's like, oh baby, and then, ooh, you betcha, and it was ridiculous, but people loved it, but yeah, it's whatever. I mean, it's interesting. I know how it can touch some people, and it can really pull people in the right direction, but I could see it pull people in the wrong direction too. So
Absolutely.
yep. Just sometimes you gotta take it for what it is. It's mythology, just no different than like comic books or whatever we're coming up with. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly a religious person. I'm never going to say that somebody shouldn't use it for whatever they need it for. I just don't like it when people use it to oppress people or hold people down.
agreed. Yeah.
Whatever you personally need, if you need that relationship, I think you should absolutely be able to have it.
Yep.
But at the same time, using it to hurt people, I don't think that's okay.
No bueno. Although the old saying is from Jim Cornette is like, when you run out of friends, that's when you turn to God. So,
Hey, when you run out of a lot of things, you turn to God.
yeah, no kidding. No kidding. But I don't know what I mean. Let's see. I mean, we talked about South Park a little bit. I mean, I guess I could get into Godzilla a little bit more, but I mean, I'm rocking the Godzilla sweater today. Like I had
You are
to.
rocking the Godzilla sweater.
Yeah, and I got a big old Godzilla on the back. But
What did you think about the attempts a few years ago to do all of the extended universe stuff with Godzilla and King Kong all updated? Like, what did you think about all that?
so the MonsterVerse, I think it's fine. At the end of the day, I really think of it as almost as a it reminds me of the Showa era so much, where it's like, Godzilla versus Mothra, Godzilla versus King Kong, Godzilla versus Monster A, Monster B, Monster C. I think it's about the same thing. Because like you introduce Godzilla with Godzilla against the Mutos, and I really like the theme that they've taken with the MonsterVerse Godzilla, with the American Godzilla. Where Godzilla is more of a apex predator. He doesn't really care about us all too much. Like we're just unless like, we try to replace him or something like that, like they did with Mechagodzilla. But
Yeah.
The interesting part with Godzilla is that, they make him a force of nature rather than, he displays intelligence. However, he's that force that rights the ship. If the ship gets steers a little bit too much starboard, steers a little bit too much port, he's there to kind of balance things out. And I really like the ongoing theme where they try to usurp Godzilla's supremacy. Where in Godzilla King of the Monsters, that's King Ghidorah, like who was sealed in ice a long time ago. In Godzilla, in Kong versus, Godzilla versus Kong, they tried to do that with Mechagodzilla, and that was made with, made with human hands. And then even in Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, they tried to do that with Scar King, and he tried to do that using Shimo to complete that objective and try to be, king of the monsters. That's an ongoing theme to it. I did see the Monarch series, which I thought was pretty good. You are kind of like retconning a few things, but it adds another layer to the story. And Kurt Russell was fantastic in it. Do I really care about anything else? No, I'm just here for the monster fights. And the monster fight at the end was kind of it wasn't that great, but that's okay. That's okay. I was here for Godzilla, and most people were. So right now, like, Japan just announced a new sequel to Godzilla Minus One, and Godzilla Minus One is actually a really good Godzilla film, but it's also a really good human film. Like, the humans are actually really good in it, which is surprising for a Godzilla film, because most of the human characters, they range from being cardboard cutouts to, they have some dimensions to them, but they're not layered, they're not deep. So when they announced a sequel, I'm interested to see where they go with Godzilla Minus Zero compared to Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah.
So that's announced, and then they're already announcing a new Godzilla versus Kong. I think it's Godzilla X Kong Supernova, and I think they're going to hint at Space Godzilla, or at least a Visitors from Space, because they did an ancient foe who originally didn't come from Earth, and then they did a human foe for Godzilla, and then they did a underground foe with New Empire. Now with Supernova, do they go with... I mean, I would love to see them have multiple monsters for Godzilla and Kong to fight. And if they can acquire the rights, it would be very interesting for them to either bring in not Mechagodzilla. They bring in Space Godzilla, and they bring in like Gigan, which would be really cool. And Gigan's like the kaiju with the hook arms, and he's got like a buzzsaw going down the middle of him, and he looks like a giant space chicken. But he's a cool giant space chicken. So, I mean, and I think what they're going to try to do, I hope they do this, is they build up to essentially a Destroy All Monsters. And they try to emulate the Showa era versus what Japan's trying to do now, which is trying to take Godzilla in different directions. But that's what I'd like to see. I like a Destroy All Titans type of movie. That would be really cool. I could see that being the end result of the ongoing MonsterVerse, but I think the MonsterVerse is fine. It satisfies cool. It satisfies the need for Godzilla, and it's made... This is like a golden age for Godzilla as far as popularity. Like, when I was growing up, like, we might have had like maybe some reruns of the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla. You can only find maybe like about 3 different types of Godzilla VHS movies until like the TriStar Godzilla came out. Yeah. When they started releasing the Heisei films, and I really got into like Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, where they went back in time, tried to erase Godzilla by moving the dinosaur that became Godzilla. They moved him like off of the island where he was born, and then he comes back like bigger and powerful and meaner, and so that was really neat. And seeing that all the way through, I was like, what I really like about the Heisei era, and that's like from Godzilla in 1985 to Godzilla versus Desidraya, is that it's a continuity, and it's all within its own universe, which, I mean, I think that's what the MonsterVerse is trying to do as well, where the Showa era was a little more disjointed, because they were just like, let's just crank out Godzilla films, and not give it much rhyme or reason other than just the overarching characters of Godzilla and Mothra, and that's about it. But yeah, and then it's really interesting what Japan's doing, because the Reiwa era, like that, they have Shin Godzilla, and they kind of hinted at a sequel for Shin Godzilla, but I don't think that's going to happen, because the creator behind Shin Godzilla kind of went ahead and did a Shin Ultraman, which I kind of want to see. I'm kind of interested in seeing that. And then there's also Godzilla minus zero, minus one, with minus zero on the way. So yeah, I think they're trying to build up another universe. I think Toho wants to go in that direction here soon. And I feel like with Godzilla -1, they might move in that direction, but who knows? We'll see.
They should take the Godzilla character and treat it the way that sometimes they would do in the 70s. Like, they would take the whole Harlem Globetrotters and they would put them on Gilligan's Island for an episode. Like, they could take, like, Godzilla, like, meets the Planet of the Apes. Or, like, you know, Godzilla encounters Star Trek. You know, like, they could take the Godzilla IP and do some crossovers with different shows or different genres or different other different IPs and see if they could get something fun out of something like that.
Sure. And I mean, they're already doing that with the comic books. So they're right now they're doing a Godzilla Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover.
Really?
Yeah, which is interesting.
That's cool.
And then previously they've done a Godzilla Power Rangers crossover, which is really neat because that makes sense because, you know, Power Rangers is tokusatsu. I mean, I was, you know, when I was a little kid, I was killing to see Godzilla fight the Dragon Zord or fight Megazord. And they make it like, I think if I remember reading the comics correctly, Rita Repulsa manipulates Godzilla into fighting the Megazord and fighting Dragon Zord, which is really neat before they actually all team up to fight Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed. But they're moving in that direction with the comics. They actually did a Godzilla and Kong versus the Justice League. And Godzilla, well, spoiler, Godzilla beats Superman.
That's fun.
Yeah. And then now they're doing a Godzilla versus the Avengers. So they're going in a whole bunch of different directions. Thanks to IDW, like having really good connections, I guess, with everybody. To where they can do all these crossovers with like DC and Marvel and other franchises. I'm honestly waiting, like this would make me squeal like a little kid, would be Godzilla versus Mars Attacks, which would be so fun.
That is fun.
And you told me that you were into black humor. I was like, I had to ask you, did you enjoy Mars Attacks?
Mars Attacks was really funny.
Mars
I really
Attacks
enjoyed
is good.
Mars Attacks.
It used to horrify me as a kid, though.
Oh, I liked it because not only was it hilarious, I loved the fact that it was an all-star show. Like, it was packed.
Yeah.
Like, everybody and their mother was in that movie.
Yeah. Jack Nicholson was in it three times.
It felt like the same type of movie that, like back in the day, you would have the Cannonball runs.
Yeah.
Those shows, whereas like you had 30 or 40 major Hollywood stars.
Oh, like it's a mad world.
Yeah. Oh, like, yeah, that one, the Poseidon Adventure, or they do like the Towering Inferno. They do those awful destruction pictures.
Yeah.
Where it was a tower or an earthquake or a boat turning over, but they were always star-studded casts.
Mm-hmm.
And Mars Attacks came off to me as literally everybody in it was a major star.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that drew me to it. It was really funny. I thought it was a hilarious show. I loved it.
I think what's really interesting is you look at it in retrospective, and Jack Black is in that film. Natalie Portman is in that film. Danny DeVito is in that film. Like, there are like all-star cast for essentially a big budget B movie, and the protagonist is a no-name. It's like a no-name kid. He was the only one whose career didn't pan out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack Nicholson being in it 3 times was so good. It's 3 different characters.
Yeah. Speaking of the Godzilla stuff, and I wanted to ask you this because I know that we're different ages, so I don't know that you would know what this is. But in the late 70s, they had a show that would come on TV in the afternoons, like when you get home from school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was prior to the era where it was G.I. Joe, He-Man, Thundercats, you know, that was the afternoon. It was an era where they did air some anime stuff. They had Star Blazers, which was
Star
the
Blazers.
American version of Battleship Yamamoto.
Yep.
But they also had a show called Goldar and the Space Giants.
Goldar and the
where
Space
it was this
Giants.
giant robot named Goldar who had antennas and blonde hair, and he would fight other kaiju type monsters very similar to the Godzilla stuff.
Right.
And they had even had like little Japanese people that hung out with him, and it was the same setup. It was just like a giant robot with gold hair versus where Godzilla would be.
Right.
But it was called Goldar and the Space Giants. And I watched it every afternoon after school religiously.
Yeah.
And loved it. And then when it was gone, it was just gone, and I never saw it again, and I haven't been able to find it on streaming. It's like it literally just disappeared.
Right. It might have had a different name, like in Japan. I'm not familiar with it, but there are several. There is a mangaka. He'd been around forever. His name is Go Nagai, and he would come out with these giant robots fighting monsters. And I'm into Go Nagai because he came up with he was the guy behind Cutie Honey and the guy behind Devilman. And Devilman is kind of a thing in itself, and it's really interesting. Devilman's got some lore to it. The other one I can really think of that came out around that time that was popular was like Battle of the Planets, which was G-Force. Gotcha
yes,
Man.
I remember that.
Yeah. So there was Gotcha
Man.
That
was Saturday morning cartoons for a while.
Yeah. And then you had Voltron, and Voltron is more of an American thing. But I mean, I loved Voltron because Voltron used to air on Toonami in the mid 90s. And I followed Voltron religiously. And I had friends that were into Voltron. I had a girlfriend at the time that was into Voltron. Little fifth grade me, having a girlfriend that was into Voltron as much as he was. But, and then there's Robotech, and I love Robotech. I love Robotech, where you have the jet fighters that turn into giant robots to fight 50-foot aliens.
Yeah.
And it takes the power of music and the power of pop culture to defeat the aliens. That was really cool. And that came from about 3 different series. And I think I explained it to Ed. The first one is Macross. And then Macross I really love. Macross Plus, it had Bryan Cranston voice acting in it. He was the main voice before he got really big. He actually voiced one of the main characters. And then there was Army of the Southern Cross. So that was Southern Cross. And then there was Mos Piata, which had the motorcycles that turn into robots. And then Ed just mentioned in chat Silverhawks.
Oh, I remember Silverhawks.
Yeah, Silverhawks. And then there were the Centurions as well. I remember the Centurions.
Silverhawks, Centurions, Inhumanoids.
Yeah.
The Sectars. There was Crystar, the Crystal Warrior. They had Black Star. There were so many shows. So many shows.
I really thought the coolest one with the really cool premise that they could have really taken in a different direction was, I think it was Black Star, because he was indigenous and he was like a space ranger, and he rode on a cybernetic horse, which I thought was really cool, and he was in an Old West setting.
Yeah.
It was
cool. Black Star to me was it was the middle ground between Thundar the Barbarian and Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
It was right there in the middle of how it was presented.
Thundar the Barbarian, man, that was a really good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could tell that Thundar came out at a time when they really wanted to do more Star Wars centric stuff.
Yeah.
Because they did have the sci-fi element to it, and the Ookla character was absolutely Chewbacca. How can you even deny that?
Yeah.
So it literally even painted the same colors.
Yeah, no kidding.
But no, I love that stuff. I absolutely love that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, especially like I think another lost gem that a lot of people don't think of, and I know you don't like Superman, but the Ruby Spears Superman in the mid '80s was quintessential Superman. And I know I am digging
I'm
deep into
not
it.
familiar with that. I'm not familiar with that.
It's got a great opening. Like, I'll have to show it to you sometime. It's fantastic. I'd show it on stream, but
No, I get it. And I probably am unfamiliar with it because more times than not, I hear Superman and I immediately check out.
yeah. But it was kind of neat. I thought it was neat, like, because it was more based off of the '78 Superman film, and I think it was George Perez that was one of the creative heads behind it. And George Perez is well known in the comic book community as reviving the Teen Titans and going in all these different directions. And I think it was George Perez and then it was Marv Wolfman that were behind the creation of the Ruby Spears Superman, which I think super underrated cartoon that was cut off a little too early.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that George Perez, I don't know about Wolfman, but I know that George Perez was heavily involved in the original launching of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline in Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Made Thanos actually relevant.
True.
Aside from the Thanos copter. But I do love the deep lore that in Endgame, like, his twin blades are actually reminiscent of the helicopter blades from the Thanos copter. If you really, you really look deeply into it. But, I thought that was cool. And then, like, well, I think also when I was growing up, I mean, I also had, like, the early version of Dragon Ball Z. Sailor Moon was a thing. Probably Sailor Moon, I would say got more popular towards the end of the 90s. Now it's got its own niche, but compared to when it first came out, it used to be like on the USA Network first thing in the morning when like even God wasn't awake like at that time. But but no, like I was a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy. So like to see like the figures of like the crossover with Godzilla, that just tickles me crazy. And then now I'm just kind of looking like, you know what? It would be really cool to see like Godzilla versus aliens. Like what would happen in that situation? Or would the predators go hunt Godzilla? Which would be kind of nuts too.
That I actually really like the idea of a team, like taking the premise of Predator and reversing it and creating a team of Predator mercs to take down Godzilla instead of the humans taking down Predator.
Oh yeah.
That's actually interesting to me.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I think that would hook people.
You need to get on that, Tyler. Get on that.
I'll write the fanfic right now, but
we need Predator mercs versus Godzilla. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Use your influential powers in the Godzilla community. I
don't even know if I have influential powers. I just have the power of suggestion. That's all I got. But like, I mean, like Godzilla versus aliens would be really cool because you can cast that into the future, and humans are trying to escape, like Godzilla, like they did in like the anime, like they did like a recent anime trilogy, and it's not even like a real anime trilogy. It's like computer generated. I never watched it. I don't care to. It's not my canon. But like the humans are trying to escape Godzilla, and they get aliens, and then the aliens kind of infect some humans and end up back on Earth. So Godzilla has to fight the Hive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's, because I'd be so dang cool.
That would be so fun.
Cool. That would be so dang cool. And then let's see, what else? I mean,
you mentioned Turtles before.
Yeah.
I was never a fan of the Turtles cartoon show.
Right.
because I was a fan of the original Turtles comics.
The comics were
the
good.
the black and whites, when they were very violent, and it was very much more focused on the martial arts culture of it. I loved those Turtles, and when they kind of, the cartoon, it felt like they really sold Turtles out to me as a reader. And so I was never really a fan of it. But my younger nephew was a big collector of the toys.
Yeah.
The original line of Turtle toys. And so I really enjoyed helping him collect those toys, because I thought that the designs and the characters were really cool. A lot of the bad guy characters were really awesome.
Yeah.
I liked those a lot, but I was never a fan of taking something that was fairly dark and serious and putting a catchphrase on it and suddenly they like pizza. Okay.
But you can't, I think to counterbalance that, I'm sure you love the movie, which balanced it all out.
The original movie was really funny.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where you know for a fact, like you see it, okay, this is going to become a franchise. They're going to do sequels. I totally get how money is made. But if they'd have just done the one movie and been done with it, I would have really enjoyed it more. But like almost everything that sells, they just beat it to death.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so it's like, I was lukewarm on it anyway. The worst thing you could do for me is keep making them.
Sure.
Because then I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to check out. I'm just going to check out.
Right. So like I was the reverse. So I was into the cartoon first. And the cartoon I think is great because it's very B-movie-esque, because the writers understood the assignment. That Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is very hokey. It's very B-movie. It's very weird. And it's kind of stupid. But they did like, the werewolf from from Dimension X, or the rats from Channel 6, and they did like Plan 9 from Beneath the Sewers. Like they did a whole bunch of like parodies from these B movies. So if you go back and you watch the 87 Turtles, yeah, they're breaking the fourth wall. Yes, it's very hokey and it's very unrealistic. But if you look at it as a comedy, and you look at Shredder and Krang as an old bitter married couple, you enjoy it a lot more. And the more times I watch it, the more things I kind of see, and I'm like, I do enjoy that. It's very enjoyable. There are some things where like I laugh, which is when Shredder and Krang give themselves their own quips. And I'm like, okay, they are an old married couple and they're bickering, but a man in his brain blob. So, yeah.
And that's kind of the trope of almost all toy related cartoons, was to have the bad guy and his sidekick or / advisor be fairly bumbling and, never really serious.
Yeah.
Because you had like Transformers, Megatron was super serious, and Starscream, was always against him. They didn't really. I think that's one of the only shows where the bad guys weren't bumbling freaks, because even in G.I. Joe, Cobra Commander was so unserious.
Yeah.
But I think that the Transformers bad guys, they meant business.
Yeah.
Which was rare. Yeah. Because even in like Thundercats, all the bad guys were goofs.
Yeah, most of them were goofs. In
He-Man, Skeletor was always played for comedy.
Yeah. He-Man.
They tried to rectify that a little bit. There was a more serious G.I. Joe later on. It was a limited series called G.I. Joe Resolute.
Okay.
and I think it was on HBO or Showtime. It was one of those where it had a little bit more of an adult flavor. The animation was different, but they played Cobra Commander seriously, and they had him literally. It was almost like it was a sequel to Real American Hero without actually saying that it was.
Mm-hmm.
But they had him reference. There was one big famous scene in Resolute where Cobra Commander gave a speech where he essentially said that at one time it benefited him to play the goof, but
Mm-hmm.
no more.
Right.
And so they almost kind of changed the lore that the goofiness we saw from Cobra Commander in the Real American Hero cartoon was all a put on to throw people off.
Sure.
Which is interesting that they take that and spin it. And like when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to watch Resolute because now I'm hooked. Now I want to know what's going on.
Right. And it leads me to different things. So first of all, like, leads me back to the Turtles. So Archie tried to, when Archie had the comics license in the 90s, they tried to make Shredder and Krang a lot more serious. Like Krang was actually like a literal warlord from Dimension X and wanted to come over and take over Earth. And then they made Shredder into more of a threat. Then they bring in like more threats for the Turtles. And then the second point being is, I think drawing from the, like, oh gosh, I kind of lost track for a second. Archie Comics. It's okay. It happens. Brain slippage. But they try to make him more serious in the comics compared to, and they tried to do that towards the end of the towards the end of the 87 cartoon, and then they done the Red Sky seasons, and then they eventually wrote off Shredder and Krang because they were too goofy and too bumbling at that point, to where they brought in Lord Dreg and they ran a smear campaign against the Turtles, and then the Turtles kind of evolved a little bit, and then they brought in this random dude named Carter. And I hated Carter. I was like, no, like, I just want to watch the Turtles. Like, I'm here for the Turtles. I'm not here for this Carter dude. And they finally ditched Carter. And I remember they dropped like April, and I was like, these are characters like I was big on. But like, why didn't you like use that to introduce like Karai and develop, make her into more of the credible threat, and have links to the Foot, and have them oust the Shredder, and they ban them to Dimension X, and they're gone forever. And then the Turtles have to deal with Karai. That's another thought. But yeah, I remember like several comics like tried to, Spawn. Okay, so like that, the Resolute made me think of Spawn from HBO. And I thought the Spawn cartoons were, the Spawn 90s cartoon was really good. I mean, Keith David is Spawn. The animation was darker. You have more death and destruction. You have more adult situations in Spawn compared to other cartoons during that time, which were tried to go more kiddie, tried to go more of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles route, like, Savage Dragon. That was kind of more serious. They tried to make it more kiddie. They tried doing that with Wildcats, which they made more kiddie because they wanted, because CBS was like, well, we need something to counterbalance Batman the Animated Series. And Batman the Animated Series like led to the Turtles getting more serious, and Wildcats coming out, and Savage Dragon coming out, and more of these, supposedly serious cartoons that, ended up not holding out, I guess not holding up as time went on, to where you can find them for like $10 at like, FYE in the bargain bin, but like, I thought of all the 90s cartoons, I would say the ones that hold up probably the best is Batman TAS, and basically the DC animated universe, and then Spawn actually holds up pretty well too.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Spawn.
I think as far as superheroes go, even though I'm not a huge fan of DC, and I don't like a lot of their animation. A lot of their animation drives me crazy because they just change too much of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that Batman the Animated Series, I think, is not only the best superhero cartoon series that has ever existed, it is 100% the best depiction of Batman that has ever existed.
I agree.
I firmly believe both of those statements to be true.
Yeah, because it made Batman, especially in the earlier episodes, they made Batman more into a detective.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of start off as Batman by himself, and then they evolved him being, having Robin with him. I thought, along with Batman the Animated Series and then Spawn, and I like the premise of Spawn. I just always see an end, and I'm like, okay, all right, when is Spawn going to get his ending? And I mean, I guess as long as you make money, you're never going to end. I mean, we're already seeing that with Dragon Ball Z when they announced that the studio in charge of Dragon Ball Z is going to do more Dragon Ball Z content for at least the next 10 years. When I'm like, it ended back in 96. Like, just let it lay. Let it sleep. But no, they want to come back with it. And because of the really bad Dragon Ball movie, Akira Toriyama was like, we need to create Dragon Ball Super so I can dictate the direction that Dragon Ball is going to take. I do think that Hollywood will take another stab at a Dragon Ball live action film like Netflix is doing with One Piece right now.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I mean, I'd love to see like a return to like the 90s style Turtles and retcon everything. Say like retcon, I would say 2 is okay, but 2 like a really hardcore fan is very lackluster. Like, what's the secret of the use? There's really not much of a secret. The Turtles were an accident. But you can get rid of 3, and I'm sure you can retcon 3 and just say, okay, we have another trilogy, live action Turtles. These are the 90s versions, and then this is its own universe. And you can create like the City at War where they bring in Karai. You can bring in the Triceratons if you want something a lot more fantastic. And you can even bring in the Utroms as well. Although most of the casual fans, at the time they didn't want, so what was really interesting with Turtles 2 was they wanted to introduce the Utroms. They wanted to make the Professor an Utrom. However, if it was revealed to be an Utrom, people would be like, oh, well, that's Krang. That's Krang. Well, no, it's not. Like, it's an entire race. And then I think what's interesting is if you watch the 2003 version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there is a Shredder that is an Utrom. And he is very dangerous. He's actually like competent and scary, and like so they did a crossover with the 87 Turtles called Turtles Forever. And the Turtles do a crossover. I feel like they make the 87 Turtles a little too hokey. They make them a little too corny. Like, they joke around. The 87 Turtles did joke around, but when they got serious, they got serious. And they always try to have like the 2003 Turtles like have a leg up on the 87 versions, and then they all go to the Mirage universe. And those Turtles, like, I would love to see like as its own series and actually like really base it off that with the violence and everything, because that's an interesting take, is taking the original Mirage Turtles and making that animated. But we'll never see it. I don't think we'll ever see it.
Well, never say never.
Yep.
Because what it really boils down to is could they do something that would produce more merch that they could sell? And if they find a place where they can sell things, they will absolutely make things.
Yep. Well, and then Ed brings up a really good point. So the problem with most franchises is they try to reboot and they try to redo things. And I think we've seen that with like the Halloween films, and I'm going in a completely direction now with horror movies. Like they've tried to reboot Halloween at least 3 different times, right?
Yeah.
When they tried to do the Thorn saga, when they tried to do the Rob Zombie version, and then now like the Blumhouse films. Yeah, but and then Ed brings up another point. So like that is the point of the reboot is new toys and profit, but who cares about the story?
That can definitely be, the point. But like I'll bring up the Kevin Smith relaunch of Masters of the Universe on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
The two movies that he did where he took the lore of the original cartoon show and basically created sequel series to that. He ignored the Adventures of He-Man where they took He-Man to space. He ignored the reboot in 2002 that was a way more anime driven. And he went direct sequel to the Filmation series with Revelation and Revolution on Netflix. And the story was very much there. And it didn't come off like a cash grab for toys, even though they did release a line of toys for it. It was adult collector type toys, not main consumption for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had to have money to buy these toys. And so, but it was really rich in the story. He took some of the mythos that had been created in those other series. He focused on stuff from the comic books. He really did expand the series, and I thought told some pretty good stories. But that is not the norm. You don't see that normally, but I thought that he accomplished that with the Netflix Masters of the Universe.
Sure. So that makes you think that he really did homework.
He did. You could tell he's a fan. You absolutely could tell he's a fan.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm super worried about the new movie coming out, because I don't know that the people who are making that movie are that I don't know that they're fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the only way things really get put in perspective and used correctly, you have to be a fan of the lore to want to service that lore and deliver what fans expect.
Right. Yeah, like, I mean, it would be right for, if we were to be like, okay, all right, let's do it. God forbid we make another Transformers movie by now, but like,
dude, those Michael Bay Transformers movies are awful.
Yeah, they're bad.
They're terrible. The 2 G.I. Joe movies were awful. I mean, it's just ugh. If you love those franchises, like, those movies are offensive. They're offensive.
Bad, huh?
I went to the theater to see G.I. Joe and was like, oh, this is awful. And then when they did the sequel and Rock was in it, I was like, okay, maybe this is going to be a little bit more, but it was just as bad. It was just as bad.
Sure.
And it had nothing to do with The Rock. He did everything he could to try and save it. It was just bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ed, who's in chat, says companies like Hasbro aren't fans. They're just greedy corporations trying to stretch out nostalgia, like the loyal subjects who are bringing back Rainbow Bright, Popples, Strawberry Shortcake, and blank.
Yeah.
He'll probably continue on that, but yeah. Or My Little Pony. Yeah, like My Little Pony, like, my God, let that franchise rest for a little bit. Or pound pup. Well, you know, like if you're gonna have My Little Pony, you might as well bring back pound puppies.
I haven't heard pound puppies in a long time.
I think I used it in print once because, like, I think when I worked for a biweekly newspaper, like we actually had like a page that had the local dogs that were at the local shelter that wanted to look for a new home, which bleeds into another story. But one time, you know, I was like, my editor was trying to figure out a good name, and I was like, dude, pound puppies. And he was like, all right, I'm going to use it. So, but Ed says pound puppies are back. Target sells them all the time. Okay, I got you. But bleeding into that, there was a Siberian Husky named Lobo. And not the Lobo we all know and love. It's more love than loathe. Lobo was there forever. He was not good with other dogs. He was not good with other pets. He wasn't even good with other children. Like, he wasn't good with children. Like, he had to go to like almost like a single male that was wanting a dog. And yeah, I think eventually Lobo like got picked up by somebody, but Lobo the Siberian Husky, and I mean, I would have thought like Lobo the Clown and Lobo the Siberian Husky would have been two peas in a pod. Going into deep unfiltered lore on Lobo the Clown. But yeah, I mean, well, like speaking of all the crazes and everything, I mean, like the Cabbage Patch Kids and oh my God, or the Thai Beanie Babies, where like there was like a little court case, like where they were like, it was a civil lawsuit where they had to divvy up the Beanie Babies between the man and his wife.
I'm old enough to remember when there were actually fights in stores for Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually in a store here in Amarillo. We used to have a store called Toys Plus on Western Street. And I remember being in an aisle with my mother around Christmas time when they had Cabbage Patch Kids in the aisle, and we witnessed a woman shove another woman to the floor over a doll.
Oh my God.
That was crazy.
That is crazy.
And I didn't see anything like that again until I was working at KB Toys over Christmas in 1997. And that was the year that they released the Bed and Bath Time Ernie doll. It was on the heels of Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah.
And we had a pyramid set up in the middle of the floor at KB Toys that had, I believe, 40 some odd items of this toy in it. Mm-hmm. And we had the gate down, and they were going to open the gate. It was Black Friday. They were going to open the gate at 6 a.m. at the mall. And people were standing out there since 3:30 or 4 a.m. And they opened the gates, and people rushed for that pyramid. And I watched a 40-year-old woman in that area, she had to have been in her 40s, literally shove an 11-year-old girl to the floor for a toy.
Oh my Lord.
And I didn't want to check her out. I was on a register, and I asked, could we just kick her out? Because that was awful. They wouldn't let us. We had to service them.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Over a toy.
Dang. Wow. And now, like, the biggest craze with the kids is like the Labubus.
Oh.
You ever heard of those things?
Yes, South Park did that last season in 27. They made fun of the Labubus.
Yeah. I actually know people that are trying to like build Labubu houses.
Dude, they did on South Park. They were having, the kids were filming Labubu rituals on their TikToks where they were conjuring demons with their Labubu toys.
So
it was hilarious.
The demons can inhabit like the Labubus.
Well, that's what but then they ended up doing a seance with like the most They did a deal with like the most rare Labubu that there was.
Mm-hmm.
They did a ceremony and they conjured Trump and Satan. It was hilarious.
Oh, that is pretty funny.
So funny.
Okay, all right. I think Ed has added more to the chat, so I'm gonna read this off real quick just so we can. Beanie Babies are sold to this day, and Cabbage Patch Kids are another IP that Target has from time to time. Walmart hasn't done this since about 2007, that I know of for sure, but they haven't sold a 12-inch G.I. Joe doll in the simple carton box since then.
I remember there was a period of time where everything got like the big 12-inch figure.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars would do the large figures.
Yeah, they do the large
the superhero crazes would do the large figures. But even before like the 3 3/4 inch craze that Kenner started with Star Wars toys, and G.I. Joe, followed up with their 3 3/4 inch figures, most of the dolls or figures in my childhood, which was the end of the 70s, early 80s, was the Mego dolls.
Mm-hmm.
The Megos, and Mego had a license for everyone.
Really?
Like they do Wizard of Oz, McDonald's characters, Dukes of Hazzard, superheroes, Marvel, DC, you name it. Like there was an aisle at the toy store that just had Megos on card, and you could literally buy Fonzie from Happy Days, the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz, Buck Rogers, Spider-Man, and Superman, and take them all home at the same time. And they all had similar clothing and similar body types. And if you wanted to play with all those characters together, you absolutely could.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mego was a huge license, and they were large. They were, about this big.
Yeah.
They're about 6 to 7 inches tall.
Okay. So kind of like the Funko Pops, like.
Well, no, Funko's complete like that. I don't like Funkos because the big square face with a dead black eyes. That's
it creeps you out.
Those things are nightmare fuel. I don't like Funko Pops. But it was the same sense of like places that sell Funko, there's just walls of Funko.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with Megos. Megos, you'd have whole walls full of Mego figures.
Wow.
Until, the 3 3/4 inch figures took off, and then Mego kind of went away. Mm-hmm. And then when He-Man took off, that was the closest thing to Mego that there was, mm-hmm. because it was back to more the 5-6 inch type of figure with the muscular body types and the soft goods. But other than that, if you wanted larger dolls, you have to play with Barbies.
Yeah.
Unless you had a franchise like Star Wars that would randomly release 12 to 14 inch dolls.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that was the same way with the Turtles too. Like the Turtles had like a good, they had a good maybe 4 inch action figure, and then they would do like the big Turtles, like. They're about 12, maybe 16 inches. Like they're pretty good. They were pretty good sized.
Yeah.
And then Ed also adds a little tidbit. Funko says they're about to go under. Okay.
I read that. They're losing a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, just too much too soon, and just not everybody's gonna collect like Funkos of everything. So, yeah. Oh well. It's almost going to be like the NECA, like the NECA action figures as well, like the really the highly detailed ones, because like when McFarlane would come out with like figures like that, like those figures were really super detailed. Like you wanted to keep them in the box, like especially the McFarlane toys, and for NECA, I think NECA is going to be next along with Funko that go under.
Yeah.
Too much, too soon, too much crap.
I think that what the biggest problem is for almost all toy lines is that with the changing culture and the changing world around us, kids nowadays don't really play with toys anymore. Everything kids do is electronics.
Mm-hmm.
They do stuff on their phone. They have their game systems. I don't know many people who have children who talk about all the money they spend on action figures and toys.
Right.
They spend their money on electronics. The toy industry has moved over to adult collectors.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're aiming your entire toy industry at people who, are not kids, you're getting very specific in the designs. You're catering to the adult collector, which means you're probably producing stuff that can't be mass produced and consumed, in the way that they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to collect wrestling figures. And when I would collect wrestling figures, Walmart would get a series of wrestling figures in a box, and there'd be like 12 pieces in this box, and you'd 4 different figures. You'd think that there would be 3 of each figure, but there would only be 1 of one, and then you'd have 4 or 5 of another. And like, who's that for? That's not for kids.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating chase figures have nothing to do with children's toys. All of that is aimed at adult collectors who are going to go out and spend the time and the money to accumulate these collections. So it all has a shelf life.
Yep.
Because it's not able to be mass consumed anymore. And if it's not able to be mass consumed, there's going to be a bubble that's going to pop.
Yeah. Oh, I get that.
Look at what happened to Hastings.
Mm-hmm.
Hastings went down because of their insistence on moving towards novelty items.
Mm-hmm.
They got away from what made their business, which was books and records.
Yeah.
And then it became all about the novelty section with all the adult collectibles. And as soon as that became forefront, you walk through the door and the first thing you see is the novelty section. Not long after that, right down.
Right. Because I remember Hastings used to have like a really good book section. And they used to, they could have been Amazon before Amazon too.
Yeah.
And they were Amazon before Amazon because they had they had a ton of brick and mortar stores. And I remember the one in Ames, and Hastings kind of came off a little cheap until I came down here for the first time, and I was like, oh man, like these stores are awesome. Like I love them. Like, and
if they didn't have it in store, they could pre-order it for you, or
right.
They could order it for you. They'd take orders, and they'd order stuff. That was so cool to me. I used to love to go into Hastings all the time because I knew if I couldn't find it on the shelf and they could pull it up in that computer, they could order it for me.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a neat thing.
That was long before online orders.
Yeah. I think they just, I don't know. I think like Hastings just didn't know what it wanted to become because it had video games, it had comic books, it had movies. Like, I think it wanted to be more of like a novelty store versus like, okay, all right, we're a bookstore and then we also have other things. But the other thing I would be like, well, that's what's happening in the bookstores too, is they're also doing more novelty stuff versus books. And that's why you're losing like, the Barnes and Noble is going to be around, but like, that's why you're losing like the Borders and the Books A Millions and yeah. But
true.
Ed also points, he also says, they also started getting heavy into comics. The problem was eyewitness employees treating all the stock like crap.
Yeah,
that could be a symptom of the problem too. Yeah.
Yeah, you again, when you're moving towards specialized product aimed at a specific group of people, then it's not for the masses anymore. The people that are in charge of it are either going to get it or they're not going to get it. They're not going to handle it the right way. I mean, the thing about collectors is when you got a mindset of somebody that I have to have every variant of every item that they have, and I won't buy this because it has a crease in the corner, or I won't buy this because it's got a smudge on the bubble. How are you going to be consuming any kind of products in a major department store when people are just throwing crap on the shelves and not taking the time that a collector would take to properly set it out?
Exactly, especially with something like a normal employee wouldn't care about. And your typical employees like at a Hastings would be like a college kid, like in high school or college kids, and they don't care much about anything. Yeah.
No, they don't care about that.
But yeah, like so many comics would be bent, or like and Ed also says, can't tell you how many comics I saw in those crates bent and messed up. So yeah. Ugh. Yeah, we had a good thing, and then, well, we can't have nice things anymore, can we?
We can never have nice things.
No, because other people like to ruin it.
Yep, everyone ruins everything.
Yeah.
People suck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No kidding. I mean, I don't know, like, but I used to find so much cool stuff at like Hastings, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then I would take it flaws and all. But I was like, well, yeah, like they had some good Godzilla stuff. There was like a Godzilla like coin bake I liked, but could I live without it? Yes, I could live without it. But no, if I wanted to find some really nice stuff, like I'd have to like go on eBay, or I'd have to really, because you can't even trust Amazon with that sort of stuff. So it's like, man, you have to go to like eBay, or you have to go somewhere. Yeah, because the mail people don't care what's inside, or the Amazon people don't really care what's inside. They're just trying to meet quotas and trying to get things out in a timely manner. But yeah, yep. Ed's also saying can't even order nice collectibles from Amazon. They stick it in a bubble mailer, and then the item arrives like a fat man rolled all over it. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, gosh. I think we can wrap it up here pretty quick, shouldn't we? Yeah.
If you're ready.
I haven't said this at all yet, and I should. If you dig what we're kicking out, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. By all means, say something in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Nothing on Ed. I don't want to read his chats all the time. I'd rather have him, here with us, talking about this sort of thing. That's what I'm all about. I'd love to see more faces, more people. So yeah, if you're digging this, and I know there's going to be more people that'll tune in for PWR, because he has himself a little bit of an audience, which would be really interesting to see what happens next week with him on. And yes, and be sure to share with your friends. Who knows? They might be into the things we talk about, which is South Park and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Godzilla and collectibles, and oh my gosh, how far Hastings has fallen before it was gone. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. For those who dropped in, thank you so much. I know I'm talking to people that are currently on stream, but people in the future, thank you for popping in. It was kind of bringing on Rick on such short notice, so Rick, thank you. for hopping in with like about an hour, with about an hour to spare. And no, Ed, we don't need to cover sex and anatomy. Thanks. Yeah, that, I don't know where that came from, Ed. We need to cover sex and anatomy? No, we don't need to. That would scare people like PWR away, but but no, I think that'll do it for today's show. Rick, thanks again. You're always more than welcome to come on.
I'm always available, always happy to help. I enjoy what y'all do. I always enjoy the chance to just sit and chat. Obviously, I hope Ed is feeling better. And yeah, I'm always available. Anytime you need me, I'm happy to hop on.
From the looks of it, I think Ed's doing a lot better. He's just saying, you're the one who says unfiltered, just backing the boss. And I don't know. I just think we're all teammates here. I mean, maybe it just might come down to me making the final call, or I just, make the phone calls to certain people. But yeah, anywho, this will do it for this episode 14, season 1 of Unfiltered. We got PWR coming next week, and I'll even just do a quick rundown of who we got coming in. PWR, and then we have the second Squared Circle Pro Hangover. We'll do another surprise guest we did last time. Kale, good old Kale Steed is coming on November 30th. He'll be a blast. He has plenty of sports ball stories that he would love to tell. And then we also have the Twitch streamer TC Warrior ETP, one of Ed's good friends. He's popping in December 7th. And then I have Dave Wright from the Cornfed podcast. He is joining us on December 14th. So if you know anybody who does something really cool and wants to hop on the podcast and visit with us, be sure to drop me or Ed a message, or you can let Rick know. Rick's really good at being the messenger. Because we still have several spots until, goodness gracious, where we end this season with, and Rick's not going to be huge on this, but basically a Super Bowl hype show. It's sports ball.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But before that show will be SCP Hangover from Collision Course. So that'll be really fun. And then I think we got a crossover coming up sometime down the line. But we got plenty more people. And then I have people that are interested. We just need to nail down dates for them. But yep, that'll do it for this week. I know I said that like 3 times already, but seriously, we're going to get out of here. You guys have a great rest of the weekend. There's not much of it left, so please enjoy it. And then also, I know Ed's not a fan of football either, but be sure to have a great week. We will see you next week. Just a quick little reminder again, PWR World is coming. He's coming in hot. He's going to be fresh, and he will probably be fully recovered from that Shawn Michaels retrospective. So, all right, that'll do it. Rick, thanks again for joining me. I'm Tyler Anderson. You may know me very well as Tyler Liger. We'll see you next time.
Are you out?